Hello everyone. It's our weekly live stream every week on Wednesday, 1 p.m. EST. We joined you to discuss everything that's going on in SEO and AI. At this point, those two are very much overlapped. So we are doing our best to keep up on everything that's happening and report you back, and at least with some actionable advice on what can and should be done about everything new that's happening. I'm in Smarty. I'm the co-founder of Smarty.marketing. That's a boutique SEO AI agency that is based in New York. I have been in SEO for 20 years, more than 20, since 2005. So I need to start counting better. And I've seen it all, so I can report and make sense of everything that's going on. Hopefully, I'm doing not a bad job. Usually, April is with me, our director of social. She's having technical issues with your camera, so she's joining in a minute. Today, we are talking about an interesting phenomenon, because you can talk about if SEO needs new acronyms. How do we call optimizing for AI? Is it GEO, generative engine optimization? If it's LLM, optimizing for LLMs, everything we are still arguing about answer engine optimization. Hi, April.
Sorry about that.
No worries, that happens. That's about going live. It's always something happening, right? So we can talk about all different ways of how do we call optimizing for AI. And the huge part of our community doesn't see any need for new acronyms, because actually, and I agree with that, there is nothing fundamentally new here that we are doing. April, could you please mute yourself for a minute, because I can see sounds outside.
Sorry.
I'm actually also making some sounds. Hi, Todd. April will unmute herself in a minute when we start talking about that. It's just a little bit noisy when we are both unmuted. So a huge part of our SEO community even arguing is, do we need new acronyms? For a good reason. We really don't have any 100% innovative tactics that we apply for LLM visibility that we didn't do for SEO. That includes relevance, being trustworthy, building your website the way it's easily accessed and crawled. All of those still exist, both for SEO and LLM. Brand positioning, brand trust, all of those are tactics and strategies that we apply to both. So why do we even need a new way of calling it? And I know Michael King is probably the one that once thinks it's needed. We need to call it something else. And I agree with his point as well, because you really cannot measure. If nothing else, you cannot measure LLM visibility the way we did that for SEO, for search engine optimization. Search engine optimization spoiled us in many ways, because there was very clear, very transparent data. You do something, you rank higher, you get more clicks, and you can go from there. Very easy to attribute, very easy to measure, not as predictable the past 5 years as before, because rankings also fluctuate, they are also personalized. There are some mystical updates like helpful content and core updates that are very hard to diagnose and recover from. So it's been difficult, but it's been still transparent. Competitive advantage was much easier, because you could look at their rankings and what they were doing and what they were optimizing for. Obviously, we are trying to apply these success metrics to the new AI visibility that we are now all interested in figuring out. Unfortunately, those two are very bad measures for AI visibility. First of all, clicks. Yes, we want clicks. We want to optimize for citations. We are doing that because we want our websites to be cited by LLMs to get some clicks. But LLM answers are not designed to send you any clicks. They are designed to keep the user interacting with the AI agent by following up questions. At some point, I'm sure it's very close that users and customers will just tell them, okay, this is the good option you found for me, now go buy it for me or order it delivered to my household. It's all going to happen when there are like no clicks at all. If anyone goes to your website, if that even happens, that will be an AI agent, but some of those purchases will be done right inside the conversation. So clicks, of course, are great while we have them, but that is not what matters for AI visibility, because very few people ever click those links. They are given as sources for the information in AI answers, and people read the answer, not what it is citing. Sometimes, in most cases, ChatGPT, Gemini, they give those citations somewhere where you cannot even find them. You have to click sources to see the panel with the citations. They give you very little information what is inside those citations. It's not like search results where there's a search snippet where you have some expectations and need to click. At this point, those are citations no one is really interested in. So whether you are cited or not, it's not that important. That's why clicks and traffic is a very poor metric for AI visibility. Very nice to have, but is going to have to be lower and lower. I don't see ChatGPT or any huge LLM platform being our source of traffic at any point in the future. If anything, they are working on removing the need to click so that people can find all the answers inside the conversation. That is one thing that not many businesses realize. What matters is you being part of the answer. That's what people are looking at. That's what they trust. That's what they are ask follow-up question based on. That's what all the conversation is going, and that is impactful. If you are listed as part of the solution to the problem or as the answer, as your brand is mentioned, and as someone who is solving the problem, that is the hugest thing you need to achieve. And in most cases at this point, those brand mentions are not linked anywhere. So there's no direct traffic from that answer. People would grab that brand name and go to Google or somewhere else, type it in Chrome address bar or something like that to go to your site. So there is an interruption. There is no clear attribution where people found your brand name before actually searching for it. So it's much harder to measure the attribution, but it is the most important thing we are optimizing for, the presence in answers themselves. We do optimize citations because they can influence the answer. So if you write an article about how you solve a problem and it gets cited, you have a much higher chance of being listed as the solution inside the answer. In that way, yes, citations are key component of optimization, but it's not for traffic as much for influencing the context and the answer. So traffic is a bad way to measure visibility. What else do we do in SEO, and still we are doing that, is measuring rankings, is how high, where, top 1, 2, 3, page 1, 2, where you come up in search results for a given query. And obviously, there are a lot of businesses and AI visibility platforms that are trying to do that for AI answers too, saying you're listed for this prompt number 2 in the list. Your rankings is number 2. Unfortunately, that is also not doable, even though we're still trying. Rand Fishkin from Spectoro ran a huge study. I think it took him like 3 months. And the study found that every time the same user asking and typing the same prompt in ChatGPT, they will see all different brands in all different order. Of course, some brands will overlap. It's not the new selection every time, but it's definitely the new order. Sometimes they structure the question differently. Sometimes they try to segment your answer based on who you may be more interested, who you are, small business, enterprise, one female, male, all those things. They try to categorize the answer differently every time. You can run that test as well, especially using the paid tier of ChatGPT, because the free one is much less. It's trying much less. It is likely to give you similar answers just because the free one pulls from training data basically all the time. The paid one will run searches. They will run different fan out searches in response to any prompt. And the result is that the selection of the brands may be similar, may overlap, but the rankings will be different. So those two very convenient but very old school visibility metrics do not really work for AI visibility. Unfortunately, I laughed at those too. Of course, I'm all with you, but we have to face the reality. And the reality is that there will be no such good metrics anymore. We will have to live in the world where we strategize on a higher level. And one thing that we can measure is they call it share of voice. I'm very sorry. I have no idea where that sound is coming from. So share of voice is when you are listed for like a number of prompts, when you show up every day, at least in some of them. Very few cases there will be where you have 100% of the share of voice, because maybe Amazon or Apple can afford that, but usually prompts are much more detailed, prompts are much more diverse, so you will, depending on the context, will have some share of voice if you have some brand visibility, but it will vary. So looking at it every day and saying, okay, for this prompt, I was listed number 1, now on number 10, I did something wrong. This is not what is going to happen. It's higher level analysis of where you are in those answers. PKI, we are brand advocates, official brand advocates for PKI is one option that we are using for our clients, but there are many others. I like Profound, and I tested it with many clients. There is also Utterly, that is also good. It's Utterly AI. So all of those are good to try and see what works for you based on your budget, based on your requirements, how many prompts you want to track. The thing with prompts is also interesting, because with Google, it was pretty clear. We would take any rankings that we can, and we will monitor them, even if we are not so much, they do not impact the bottom line. We liked every ranking opportunity because it was brand visibility, even if it's highly informational. We would love to have that. With the AI visibility tools, your share of voice 100% depends on which prompts you are typing in. If those are irrelevant prompts that you really do not do, of course there will be visibility 0 for you. So take a lot of thinking in your value proposition and which problems you're solving, how you stand out from your competitors, what you do better than them, and decide on those prompts based on that. Product positioning is another, or brand positioning is another huge thing that we need to be monitoring when it comes to AI visibility. There is a lot of confusion, outdated data about your business that you do not even know about, but LLMs will pick it up and put it as the answer, claiming that you do not provide something which you provide, not knowing about your key products or how they are better than the competitors. There are a lot of misconceptions. There is a lot of outdated data online that isn't training data or online available through searches, and LLMs will misrepresent you unless you are auditing that. And it also can be evolving. For example, I started optimizing my personal brand in LLMs a while ago. I think together with when ChatGPT was launched, I was reporting on how to position yourself better in LLM answers. So at the beginning, it was just training data. Now there are also citations. I find those outdated URLs again and again when they claim that I'm been in SEO for 5 years. And that article, of course, goes back to like 2010, but LLMs still find it and use it. Or they claim that I'm a brand manager, which I haven't been for a while. So it can be very outdated and confusing. Some of those LLM answers even claim I'm local SEO expert, which I have never been at all. But you are usually able, if there are citations, especially if there are citations, you are able to find where that misconception is coming from and try to fix it. This is, again, an ongoing process because training data is very fluid. It can be static for a while, but then it has an update, and there are many other citations or many other sources that it started using, and you are misrepresented again. It's usually like what used to be ranking monitoring. I feel like brand positioning, especially brands with a lot of products they are trying to sell, all of those should be monitored through, again, AI visibility tools. That those could be manual searches. I, for one, just like manually prompting ChatGPT or Gemini about my clients, because I also want to see like what they return but to users, not just through APIs to those platforms. So you want to keep an eye on that. The fact that LLMs know about you is already good. It's a win, especially if you're not a huge, you're a local or small business. That is the first step, to just let them know about you, make sure they know about you. The next step would be building your brand mentions, and monitoring that training data around the training context around your brand. And as long as you want to be found by ChatGPT or someone or another platform. So that is an ongoing process. The goal here with branded prompts is, one, make sure that your brand is positioned well. There is no outdated data or misconception about what you're doing. And two, make sure that those LLMs know more and more about you. So at the beginning, when you start this process, you will see one, two paragraphs about you. And then the goal is that answer grows and grows. The third thing that you want to keep an eye on and work on is basically making sure that it knows at least as much about you as your competitors. And that is also competitive advantage audits, competitive intelligence that is still acceptable and accessible for marketers. There is a lot of visibility when you prompt LLMs manually, when you use the tools, you can definitely tell what is actually happening, how you are compared to your competitors. The third step, which I haven't achieved yet, is to be in ChatGPT and LLM knowledge base. And that is one huge news from last week. ChatGPT is now showing knowledge panels like Google is, with the people, places they know about, the knowledge panel that is very, very similar to Google. I assume, I don't have any proof, it's very new. I assume that that will also impact visibility in a big way, because when they know you are an entity, there is more trust, there is easier retrieval for anything relevant. They don't have to think too much or too hard when you are in their structured knowledge graph. So that would be step 3. Your goal, you want to be an recognized entity inside ChatGPT knowledge panel and Gemini Google knowledge panel. I think Gemini may be using Google's, but I don't have any proof to that. It's just logical to think that they can access it, since it's the same company, but we don't know. Anyways, we know ChatGPT now does and Google does. So your goal is to be there, to be a recognized brand. And last thing you can easily monitor when it comes to AI visibility is your branded search. I think I've talked about that a few times already. Very easy to do through Search Console, where you can limit all queries to your branded queries, and the goal is impressions, clicks, and diversity for those searches will be growing. The reason being is that, yes, if you come up in AI answer, people will search for you in Google, at least for now. So there is a good reason to think, if you see those increase, then probably you are doing something well with your digital PR, with your site, with making your brand relevant and clear. And April, I'm sorry I talked for too long. That was a big topic. I'm sure people are always criticizing me for not letting you speak, but if you have any questions, please ask them.
So do you think that links still matter for brand visibility for AI?
Well, there are 2 parts of this answer. First of all, links do still matter for SEO, for organic search visibility. And LLMs search a lot, especially Google. By the way, I do have a few tests I'm sharing in my subreddit, SEO for AI. If you want to know about specifics like that, tests that prove something, please join the subreddit or subscribe to my newsletter in smarty.com, or both, because Reddit is much more conversational and smarty.com newsletter is very actionable digest for whatever is happening. So if you are interested in the topic, it would be beneficial for you to join both. So in that subreddit, I did share just a few days ago a new test that shows that ChatGPT and Grok, that is Access, Twitter's, I don't know, I cannot pronounce Access without a smile. Twitter's AI platform, they both search Google first before they try. They're much more likely to search Google than anyone else, anything else. So Google's visibility is still key to being found in AI answers as well, especially if you're being strategic about your content. You can find my previous episodes on how to be more useful and relevant in my newsletter, but I think that is something we should be discussing in the future as well, because there is much more data today than like 1 year ago when I talked about that. And secondly, links come with brand mentions. You need to remind especially good links, digital PR links that we specialize in, they come with brand mentions that are key for LLM visibility, because they are just like kids. They need to be reminded of your brand time and again, so that when there is a related prompt, they just remember about you. And if they remember about you, it's much easier for them to give you as the solution to the problem than search or figure that out from start. So yes, links, especially good links. We focus on digital PR links. I'm sure there are other ways to build good links, like co-citation links work very well when you do that right. Again, do not do listicle spam, but my method of approaching that is identifying most impactful citations by the way. That is something you can also measure using Peak, Profound, and other solutions. So I find most cited URLs that come up in ChatGPT, Gemini, everywhere. And I would definitely approach those to be included in the same context as my competitors, or as part of the problem solution content. So there are definitely good links that help with both.
So you mentioned like fixing incorrect information about your brand that's out there. So what could you do if like there's incorrect information that you don't have access to or you're not in control of?
In most cases, it's interesting that reputation management inside LLM answers is very similar to what we did with organic search. If you cannot fix something, you talk about that misconception yourself and fix it on your site, inside your subreddit. That's what we do for clients as well. We clear things up, but when we cannot, we make sure that correct information is visible using our channels. Reddit is the huge, huge source of those misconceptions about brands. People do not really try to figure out the answer and just post what they think the brand is doing right or wrong. Usually it's what it's doing wrong. And there is very very few ways to impact to do something about that. So you can fix what you can. If something is beyond your control, you make sure you use all your channels to provide correct, up-to-date information and to fix that. Maybe even digital PR assets can be helpful there as well, when you find angles to talk about what it is you are doing, and also add some context to the article and through outreach to fix something. So all the means you can, you have to publicize the up-to-date correct information about yourself or your products.
So you also mentioned like coming up with fresh content to drive and like PR and whatnot to drive brand visibility. How do you come up with that stuff?
Again, nothing fundamentally new here. We are being relevant to our target audience. We talk about the product positioning. The first step would be identifying it. You would be surprised how many businesses haven't figured it out, what it is they are doing and for who exactly, and why their target audience needs to choose them over competitors. What is their main value proposition? A lot of very well established businesses do not have those questions answered. Once you answer that question and get consistent across your channels, then you can go to your target audience, figure out their problems they're trying to solve, and you can help with them. Figure out keyword research. We use Reddit a lot to find those topics, and I know April can talk about that. We do Reddit audits and identify those pain points, and to talk about them on your website, and to find angles in digital PR that would address those and pick some attention. So it's all once you know who you are serving and why you are better for that particular audience, for that particular need. It's all very easy. It's traditional keyword research. It's surveying your customers. It's finding what things are discussed on Reddit and maybe others, finding what your competitors are doing when it comes to PR, also sometimes a good source of information, even though I don't think we ever were able to find anything really worth of implementing in our PR strategy when we were using competitive research because somehow it's usually not very creative. So, but all of that, whatever you can do, talk to your clients, talk to your customer support, and talk and align all your own channels, including your social media, your site, your PR campaigns, all of that, your blog, whatever you are doing online, whatever channel you own, you need to be aligned everywhere, talking about the same things in different ways. It doesn't have to be the same piece of content. It could be video, it could be short, it could be short video, it could be image, it could be anything, it could be text, it could be whatever you can come up with. It could be all of that, but you need to diversify your channels, you diversify your content, and provide fresh content all the time. LLMs love fresh content. Google loves fresh content. We've been talking about doing something all the time consistently in SEO for as long as I remember. In LLM, it's also important and probably even more important than in SEO. With that, thank you so much. I hope that was useful. Again, Smarty.com, I list more tools, more ways, more resources for you to start measuring your AI visibility, or at least do something in understanding how it is you are mentioned in answers, and if there is something action needed there. Join us next week, Wednesday p.m. EST, to discuss another timely topic, which I will know by the end of this week because I usually talk about what's being discussed online, what is hot today, what is trending, and what people cannot figure out. So expect some fresh, timely topic from us next Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining, April. Thank you so much for being here and helping me out. Have a great week, everyone.
Bye, everyone.